Hey there, Seb by the Realtor here. In this video, I'm going to explain why setting a really high price for your property never works. If you are thinking of selling your home and you're flirting with the idea of setting a price that's at the very top of the range, then you definitely, absolutely want to watch this video. So the other day, I went down to check out a property that a colleague of mine is getting ready for sale. It's a bit of a rural property. It's on a couple of acres or so, and it was a 20-year-old home. And the reason I went to see it was because I thought I might have a buyer for it. So I went down, I met my colleague, and we spent about half hour or 45 minutes walking around the property, looking at it from various angles and thinking what could be done to really improve the presentation of the property so that it got a lot of interest and would sell for the highest price possible. Now, the property itself, the house itself, was only about 20 years old. That's not very old around here. And it was a very high quality home. It was really built well, a lot of excellent finishes, a lot of really high quality materials. But one thing that was a bit odd about the property was that it had an unusual floor plan because it was a custom home. It was built by the owner for himself to meet his particular lifestyle needs. Unfortunately, when homes are built like that, they are really built for that one owner, and they're not really thinking about reselling the property. Now, I like to say that if you come across a one-of-a-kind home, there's a reason why it is a one-of-a-kind home, and that is because nobody else wants more of that kind of home. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't somebody who would like this home. I'm sure there are many people that would like this home. But when you are competing in the open market against homes that have a more traditional floor plan, you are going to be at something of a disadvantage even if you use a lot of really high quality materials and the property does in fact look fantastic, because floor plan is a really important aspect of any home, and it is often a make or break when you are putting your home on the market. If you have a floor plan that just doesn't work for people, then you're not going to get a very high price for the property. And of course, the discussion came down to how much is the property worth and how much should we list it for? Because those are two separate questions, because the price that you list your home for has little or nothing to do with the price that it will actually end up selling for. And if they are the same, it is really just a coincidence, because about 90 or 95% of the time, the house will sell for more or less than the list price. The price that you set for your home is really all about the marketing strategy that you are using for your home and how long you want to have your home be on the market. The higher you set your price, the longer your home is going to be on the market, and that is a statistical fact. And it's also a statistical fact that the longer your home sits on the market, the less it is ultimately going to sell for. And that is why I suggested to my colleague that she set a low price, not a high price. Of course, the seller wants to set a high price because the seller thinks that if they set a high price, that means they're going to get a high amount of money for it when it sells. But actually, the opposite is true. The higher the price that you set, the greater the chance that you're going to get less money for it when you go to sell your home. And the reason for that, of course, is the law of supply and demand. It's very simple. When prices are high, demand is low. When you have low demand for your property, what actually happens? The price goes down. If you want to get a high price for your property, you need to position your home in the market where there is not a lot of supply and there is great demand. There is less supply and far greater demand in the lower ranges of prices, especially for homes like this, which are a bit out of the way, not too much, but a bit out of the way, that don't have a lot of usable outdoor space, which, hey, listen, out here in California, it's all about indoor-outdoor living, right? That's why we pay the big bucks to live here, and especially when you are going with a house that has a unusual floor plan. Even if it has the greatest materials on earth, the whole thing is covered in gold leaf, you are not going to get a very high price for it if the floor plan does not suit the buyers. So you really want to make sure that regardless of the kind of property that you are listing, but especially if it is one of these somewhat unique, somewhat out of the way, somewhat unconventional homes, that you set a price at which it will sell and sell quickly, because the longer it sits on the market, the less it is going to sell for. But my colleague, she wasn't exactly convinced. She said, is that really true for these rural properties that are like a few minutes out of town? And I said, absolutely, that is true for properties that are a few minutes out of town, that properties that have an unusual floor plan. It is true for all kinds of properties. And the reason why, because this is the law of supply and demand. The law of supply and demand is a law. It's like the law of gravity. Let me ask you this. Does the law of gravity have the same force of effect in Antarctica as it does in California? And the answer is yes, of course. Does the law of gravity have the same effect 100 years ago as it does today, or 100 years in the future? Of course it does. And that's because it is a law. Well, the law of supply and demand is a law just like that. It is the most fundamental principle of economics. So if you want to make sure that your unique property, your whatever property, is going to get the very highest sale price, why don't you use the very most basic law of economics and make sure that your property is priced to the point where you are going to get a lot of demand for your property, because we know what the law of supply and demand says, and it applies everywhere, in all places, at all times, for all kinds of properties. When there is more demand for your property, and after all, you only have one home to sell, which means your supply is fixed. And when you have more demand for that item, what happens to the price? The price goes up. And it's very interesting because I went to see this property because I had a buyer maybe for that property. And my buyer actually put an offer in on a different property, and it was also a rural property. And guess what happened? Rural property, there were how many? There were 7 offers on that property in about a week. And did you know what happened? That property ended up selling for, well, actually, we are the winning bidder, and we are in contract for 18.6% over list price. And so that right there is the law of supply and demand. And let me tell you what, that property was not priced super low. It was priced a little bit low. It was priced what I might say 5% under the comps, but we ended up paying 18.6% over the listed price for that property because there was that competition, because we had to fight off all those other buyers. Listen, I don't care what kind of property it is. I don't care about the floor plan or how old it is or the condition or the lot size or the location or any of that. The reality is that all properties are subject to the law of supply and demand. And so when you are going to sell your property, especially if it is a unique property, do not think that by setting a high price, you are going to be able to get a high price for the property. What you are really going to do is you are going to give buyers a reason not to come and see your property and go and see all the other properties first instead. Meanwhile, your home will sit there, it will linger. Buyers will wonder what is going on. You will end up chasing the market down. You will lose a lot of money in carrying costs. We're talking about insurance and mortgage payments and upkeep and maintenance while you are waiting for your home to sell. Meanwhile, you are not getting on with your life and putting that capital to better use. Listen, just trust the law of supply and demand always. Set the price at a level which it will be very, very competitive, which will get a lot of attention in the market, where it will get a lot of buyers in the door quickly and get them writing offers, and then trust your realtor, hopefully that would be me, to help you negotiate the very best price and terms for your property, all things considered. Listen, if you want to have a further discussion about your unique property and about what we can do to make sure that you get the very best price for your property when you go to sell it, then by all means, give me a call. This is my cell number here at the bottom of the screen. You can also shoot me a text message. I would love to talk to you about your situation, about your home, and what we can do to make sure that you get the very highest price possible for your home, given its condition, location, age, square footage, floor plan, and all that stuff, because there is a right price for every home, and I will make sure that you get it. All right, that is all I have for this video. Thank you so very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, I'm guessing, although just a guess, you might also enjoy some of these videos over here. These are some of the most popular videos here on my YouTube channel, so please do take a look. All right, that's all I have for this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and please stay tuned.